welcome to the Radical Challenge Championship. We are for our fourth meeting here at the banked oval track of Rockingham Motor Speedway. So it's something a little bit different for our drivers this weekend, and in particular, those who are visiting from the Caribbean.
We're just coming over, we just decided to choose a few events. Fortunately for this one, Silverstone and Rockingham were back to back. The next one is going to be at Snetterton in August, so we'll be back over for that. So it's really a matter of selecting what we can do, but we still work, so it all has to work with, everything has to come together.
How do the championships differ, obviously being here in the UK versus when you're doing the championships in the Caribbean?
The grids in the UK are far larger. The competition level is far higher. Obviously for us, all the tracks are new most of the time, so we need to get into it and then race it. But the competition is a lot higher here in the UK.
Qualifying's just taken place and current solo leader Challeng finds himself second on the grid. Seventh on the grid with his highest qualifier yet is Spencer Bourne. Spencer, I know you're just about to go and get yourself ready for the first race today. You had your highest qualifier so far?
Yes, I did, yeah. So I'm very happy with that, yeah. So I had a bad weekend at Silverstone last weekend, really. And so it's nice to get a result, yeah.
And so how are you going to play it? What's your feelings for race one?
Race one, probably just try and keep my position, really. I've had pretty bad starts for the season, so I'm hoping to get a decent start, keep my position to turn one, keep out of trouble, and then sort of see if I can make some positions up during the race.
Do you like Rockingham as a track?
Yeah, I do quite like Rockingham, yeah. So I've had a couple of test sessions here, so yeah, it's an interesting track.
Good luck, I'll let you go. Well, we're halfway through the Radical Challenge now and it rolls in to Rockingham Motor Speedway. Race one's just about to get underway. We've just had that chat with Spencer Bourne, so let's see how well he does after doing really well in the qualifying.
Thanks, Michelle. Yet the cars lining up on the grid. Let's have a look at the way they line up. Bradley Smith sits on pole position alongside is the current championship leader Challeng. Row 2 of the grid is Oliver Barker and the reigning champion Steve Burgess. Brian Caldwell and Christian Jeffrey on row 3. Spencer Bourne and Mark Crader on row 4. And the Bajan driver Stuart Maloney on row number 5 alongside the all-black car of Dominic Jackson. Pole position on the right-hand side as we look at it. Challeng on the outside of the front of the grid at the wheel of the orange car. Red lights are on, red lights go out now. Fantastic start for the outside of the front row of the grid for Challeng. Slow away is Bradley Smith. That means that he's going to get his pocket picked by both Steve Burgess and the second of the blue cars, that being Oliver Barker. So from pole down to fourth as they turn their way through turn one on the oval and then down the short straight before they head onto the infield section of the circuit at the Dean hairpin. It is going to be Challeng that leads the race. Side by side almost for second position is Steve Burgess and Oliver Barker. There's a spin further back. That's kind of a 66, which is Brian Caldwell facing the wrong way. There's another car in the background that's had to take to the grass as well to rejoin, but the race continues with Challeng out front and leading the race, the current championship leader from the reigning champion as they turn their way through Chapman Curve and up towards the sweeping left-hander at Piff Path. From there it will bring them down the Streel Straight and in towards Graceland's Corner, with already Challeng looking to try and build a subtle advantage between himself and the pair of blue cars that lay behind. Only now does Brian Caldwell get going, car number 66. He was the car that rotated at the second corner in reality, the Dean hairpin. And here is number 21, Bradley Smith, looking to try and attack and defend at the same time. Oliver Barker ahead of him, Christian Jeffrey sitting directly behind him at the wheel of the number 61 machine. And you can see just how busy it is down the Skull Straight in towards what is the Brook chicane that brings them back onto the banking at the exit of turn 4. They'll go. Challeng about to chalk lap number 1 into the book. He leads the race at this stage from Steve Burgess, number 1 in second position. That's the blue car with the yellow flashes. The blue car with the white flashes of Oliver Barker, who's in third, and then Bradley Smith, who claimed all 3 victories at Silverstone, sitting there in 4th place at the moment. He's claimed 5 wins so far this year. Didn't appear at Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium for rounds 4, 5 and 6, but was back with a vengeance at Silverstone. He's looking for a solid weekend here. At the moment he's 4th. He qualified on pole, but a slow start has hampered his progress in the early stages of this one. Through the right-hander at Yentwood, where the cars just climb uphill slightly before they turn their way through Chapman Curve. Great fight going on for second and third between the 2 blue machines. Steve Burgess just fending away Radical SR1 racer from last year, Oliver Barker. who is going very well, I've got to say, in the course of his debut season in the Radical Challenge Championship. This new car to him, a lot more power, a lot more aero, a lot more grip than the Radical SR1 he's used to, but he's adapted beautifully well and is now under pressure from what is Bradley Smith, who's having a quick look up the inside. Oliver Barker just got the door closed in time there. Bradley Smith was so late on the brakes that Oliver Barker just got the car anchored up and turned into the apex in time. So through the Brook chicane, yet again they'll work their way. They flick right, they flick left, they flick left again as they then turn their way up onto the banking and start to accelerate and go up through the gears. The Suzuki engine working hard as they head over the start-finish line and complete yet another lap here at Rockingham. The order inside the top four still remaining exactly as was. Further down through the order, there's still some fantastic fights going on, and what is a very full field of cars again this weekend. 25 cars having qualified this morning, and 3 of those at it like hammer and tongs for second, third and fourth position. Number 1, Steve Burgess in second. Number 22, Oliver Barker in third. Then the pole sitter, Bradley Smith, sits there in fourth place. Not that far away also is the yellow, green and white car of Christian Jeffrey, another driver from the Caribbean. He's a driver that's doing the full 2017 championship season. As the field of cars thread their way through Chapman Curve and start to head out onto the far reaches of the circuit once more at Piff Paff Corner through the sweeping left-hander that brings them up towards the Steel Straight. Here is number 8, Spencer Bourne, fighting away with Dominic Jackson coming up towards Shot. Also, this is number 10, John Caldwell. He's not that far behind. John, having qualified 14th quickest, is turning his way through Tarzan. John, brother to Brian Caldwell, who had the spin on the first lap. Number 8, Spencer Bourne, we've heard from him earlier on today, having his best qualifying session of the season so far, and at the moment on course for what could be potentially his best result of the race season so far. He's got Dominic Jackson right behind him at the wheel of car number 4. Dominic qualifying down in 10th place. For Spencer, of course, so in 7th position as they feed their way over the start-finish line. This huge train of cars, all very much nose to tail. There is number 88, Richard Baxter, who went well at Silverstone but hasn't gone particularly well here. He's behind that car there, which is number 57, Brian Murphy, and they'll be fighting over places that are just outside of the top 10 currently. Brian Murphy looking to equally as much close up on the next batch of cars ahead. That's number 52, which is Mark Richards. He's having his own little squabble with number 28, Elliot Goodman. So cars all beginning to close up on each other. Elliot Goodman under pressure from number 52, Mark Richards, who's got Brian Murphy closing up. Brian Murphy under pressure from Richard Baxter, and now the all-white car has joined in as well. That's Konstantin Gugiev who has joined in. So a little quintet of cars threading their way through Piff Paff down the short steel straight that will bring them in towards the left-hander at Graceland's Corner. Some great little battles going on midfield. There's also some great fights going on at the front as well. Up towards the braking area for the right-hand hairpin at Tarzan now come Richard Baxter under pressure, very much so, from Konstantin Gugiev, who might give himself an opportunity here. Now he puts the power down too early coming out of the Tarzan hairpin, leaves a couple of black lines on the tarmac as the Dunlop tyres cry that there's too much power going down for them to be able to cope, and Konstantin Gugiev will have to try and find another place where he might be able to squeeze his way through and past that light blue and pink machine in the hands of Richard Baxter. Here's the squabble for second and third place. Steve Burgess in second as Oliver Barker tries one up the inside in towards the Dean hairpin. Through he goes. The reigning champion saw him coming, opted not to turn into the corner, avoided contact, so it's still the blue car from the blue car, but it's the blue one with the white flashes. Oliver Barker that's now up into second place, and down to third goes Steve Burgess, who's going to have to stick his elbows out. Bradley Smith, the pole sitter, is still there in fourth place. When the lights went out, Bradley didn't get the best of starts. He's down in fourth place and hasn't made any progress since the beginning of the race. The top 4 still very much together as well. The orange car of Jack Lang still leading the race. Then this little trio of cars just that little bit further behind. Barker from Burgess, from Bradley Smith as they head on to the brakes and in towards the Tarzan hairpin. Bradley Smith has a quick look up the inside of Steve Burgess, who is hugely keen, having just lost one place, not to lose another. So Burgess, the number 1 machine, hangs on to what is third position. Fourth place is still Bradley Smith, and fifth place now beginning to close in, I would suggest, which is the white car with its green and its yellow livery, which is going to be Christian Jeffrey. So safely out of the Brook chicane, back up towards turn 4 again. They thread their way over the start-finish line, and well, the gap between first and second is definitely coming down. Jack Lang will be starting to feel the pressure now. Oliver Barker has put himself in prime position to attack for the lead of the race before too much longer. Here comes number 4, Dominic Jackson, over the start-finish line. He's still fighting away with Spencer Bourne. Spencer still looking for his best result of the season so far. And at the moment, he's fending off Dominic Jackson, who we've seen great things from throughout the course of this season, Dominic. We haven't seen a win for him as yet so far this year. In fact, we've only seen one single podium for him, and that came at the final race at Silverstone. So he'll be hoping that he might be able to pick the pocket of Spencer Ball, gain a place, and then mount a challenge later on over the course of the race. But for the moment, it's still a black car with its purple livery. Spencer Ball just ahead of Dominic Jackson, who thought about it at Piff Path, but then realised it's perhaps not the best of overtaking opportunities. The battle for the lead of the race is most certainly on. Up towards Tarzan now come. Jack Lang leading, Oliver Barker in second place. Since getting past Steve Burgess, he really has closed the deficit that existed between himself and, of course, not just the race leader, but the championship leader at this stage, number 2, Jack Lang, as we ride on board through the Brook chicane. Hard on the accelerator, up through the gears goes Jack Lang. He looks in his mirror and then sweeps across to take as wide a line as he can into the flat-out left-hander at turn 1, where the cars do not even lift. They are flapped through that corner before they're then into the heavy braking area for what is the Dean Hairpin. More squabbles going on the School Straight. This is for places outside of the top dozen or so, and we're pretty much nose to tail for the lead of the race. Jack Lang under pressure from the charging Oliver Barker. We're side by side for third and fourth up towards what is Yentwood corner. Steve Burgess having to defend the inside line from the charging Bradley Smith, so they're sort of paired off now in reality. Jack Lang under pressure from Oliver Barker for the lead, then a gap with Steve Burgess under pressure from Bradley Smith for what is third and fourth position. You can see they're dropping ever further away now, the third and fourth place battle from these two as they round Graceland's corner and start to head into the braking area for Tarzan. Oliver Barker just showing the nose of the car, then he's having a look up the inside, comes from a long way back, and there didn't seem to be a great deal of defence put up there by Jack Lang. We ride on board once more, tries to attack. We're side by side on the School Straight. Oliver Barker just with his nose ahead. He's also got the inside line for the next corner, and that is Bradley Smith slowing down on circuit, was in fourth position. Bradley Smith slowing down, the squabble for the lead still on, but the lead has changed. It is Oliver Barker that has now taken up the lead of the race as we ride on board now with the second place car of Jack Lang. Back over the start-finish line, another lap completed. Oliver Barker leads from the number 2 car of Jack Lang. Here's what happened to Bradley Smith up the inside of Steve Burgess at the Tarzan hairpin. Contact made between the two. Steve Burgess gets rotated through 180 degrees, and leaving the scene is Bradley Smith with what I suspect is probably some kind of suspension damage. Fingers crossed Steve Burgess will be able to continue. Since taking the lead of the race, well, Oliver Barker really has started to build the amount of daylight, an ever-increasing amount of that between himself and Jack Lang. Elsewhere through the order, we've still got some great battles going on. This is number 28, Elliot Goodman, mounting a challenge onto Mark Crader, whilst Mark Richards sits not that far behind him. But out of the Tarzan hairpin and onto the School Straight comes our race leader, Oliver Barker, looking to try and close in on what for him would be victory number 2 of the season. Jack Lang not with a great deal of response at this stage, his car just struggling for a little bit of pace relative to new race leader. And this has been a change of order as well. Konstantin Gukiev now, the all-white number 9 car, through in ahead of Richard Baxter as they head round through Tarzan. Konstantin looked to miss the apex there, runs wide as well coming out of the corner, so Richard Baxter is able to instantly return the favour and take the place back. So the blue and pink car goes ahead of the white car, and behind them that looks like Steve Burgess, who has, by the look of things, been able to continue in the race. Up towards the braking area for the Dean Hairpin come the two men from the Caribbean, Christian Jeffries and Stuart Maloney. Yellow flags being waved there, though, because we've got 2 cars off and on the grass, one of which looked like Barry Liversidge, the other one looked like Rod Goodman. So those 2 cars not in the safest of places will, by the look of things, bring about the safety car. I'm not surprised, because they were very much in harm's way. So all of that hard work having been done by Oliver Barker to build the margin has all been eroded to not a great deal. So weaving from side to side under safety car here at Rockingham, it is Oliver Barker that leads. Jack Lang is second, Christian Jeffries is third, Stuart Maloney is fourth. The black and purple car Spencer Bourne on for a season's best in 5th place. The light blue car Jack Manchester in 6th place. 7th place is number 4 Dominic Jackson, and that looked like the black car with its yellow flashes. That will be John Cordwell, who will wrap up the top 8. So green flags fly, we get racing back underway here. Good restart from the front 3, Oliver Barker, Jack Lang and Christian Jeffrey. Then a slightly larger gap before we see Stuart Maloney there in 4th place. Spencer Bourne under pressure in 5th place as Jack Manchester, the light blue car, isn't quite close enough to do anything through turn 1 at the restart. Might have a go though as they head in towards the braking area for the Dean Hairpin. Jack Manchester takes a wider sweep in towards the hairpin, try and cuts back on the exit of the corner. Spencer Bourne still hanging on to the position, but as they head down the straight, I think Jack Manchester might be able to squeeze his way through. Further down through the order, there's a change. Number 64, Tom Harvey, gaining a place over what is Mark Maloney. And here now we've got Spencer Bourne. Yeah, he did lose out to Jack Manchester, the blue car having gone through. And Spencer Bourne is going to have to try and stick his elbows out to try and keep John Caldwell from squeezing his way through. John Caldwell's car largely black, but it's got those yellow flashes down the side of it. Spencer, who was really happy with the way things went in qualifying, sitting there in 7th position, is hoping that he can still have a season's best finish here, but he's under pressure from John Caldwell, who's asking him a few questions as they turn their way out of Tarzan. And there's a slowing car, and that is Oliver Barker all of a sudden that's slowed coming out of Tarzan. So Oliver Barker, the race leader. Now what has gone wrong for poor old Oliver Barker? He was on course for a race victory, and well, the car has ground to a halt on the way out of the Tarzan hairpin, part the way down the School Straight, and that is an enormous shame for Oliver Barker. It does now mean that Spencer Bourne and John Caldwell are going to be fighting over what is going to be 5th and 6th position. Spencer Bourne's really going to have to work terribly hard here to keep John Caldwell at bay, who's having a quick look up the inside as they head in towards the Dean hairpin. John Caldwell does go through on the brakes on the way in towards the corner. Spencer Bourne will try and fight back on the way out, but no, he's lost the place, and for poor old Oliver Barker, he's clambering out of his stricken car, which is still under localised yellows, but that car is not in a safe place at all, right on the exit of the corner and right on the racing line. So I do think we might have possibly another safety car period as a bare minimum coming up here. In the meantime, the race still continues. John Caldwell having picked the pocket of Spencer Bourne. They come through the left-hander at Graceland's corner and are in the yellow flag zones at the moment, so there should be no overtaking down through this part of the circuit. So all the drivers just sticking to be in line of sight. In fact, red flags coming out, so red flags do come out, and with the red flags coming out so late at the end of the race, that means that we go back a lap, and that actually will mean that Spencer Bourne retakes the place over John Caldwell. So what is unfortunate an early end to the race will be huge fortune for Spencer Bourne. He should, on the official results, retake the place as we go back a lap before the red flags came out. So the cars are making their way down into the pit lane area, where I'm sure they'll all be ushered in towards the paddock, because we are past 75% distance of the race, and the results then are confirmed as follows. Jack Lang takes the win from Christian Jeffrey in 2nd place and Stuart Maloney in 3rd. Jack Manchester in 4th. Spencer Bourne does take 5th place from John Caldwell in 6th, with Tom Harvey, Mark Maloney, Dominic Malone and Mark Crader completing the top 10. So 3 happy-looking drivers make their way onto the podium after race 1 at Rockingham. Let's hear from the top 3.
Jack, that's no doubt helped maintain your lead, really.
Yeah, great. Our rivals had a bit of a bad race, so that helps us claim some more points. Just need to work on trying to find a little bit more pace for the second race, but yeah, it's going well so far.
First podium, best result of the season, so far so good for the day.
How many races have you done so far? Because you're over here just especially for the season, aren't you?
Yeah, so it's the first season I actually committed to do the entire series, and I'm actually going to do some of the European runs off to Hungary next week, so looking forward to that too.
Stuart, all that positivity paid off, didn't it?
It did, great. I couldn't ask for more. Very grateful for the podium. It feels like a victory, so very happy.
Well, this is your second race?
Yeah, second race, yeah. So it's great. No, very happy. I mean, obviously there was some attrition in the race, so that helped. We were there sticking with the guys up front, so it was good to know that. The car had good race pace, but couldn't ask for more.
Well, a great result for Jack Lang, extending his lead. But I have to say, fantastic result as well for our visitors. Both Christian Jeffrey and Stuart Maloney from the Caribbean, both ending up on the podium here at Rockingham. We've got more racing to come, which is good news for Ollie Barker, who I'm sure will be back and fighting.